Michelle Cox is the first out. Batting next, number 21, the second baseman, Tamika Whitefield. Whitefield is retired on a fly out to the shortstop. 2 outs, bases clear. Now batting number 65, the catcher, Taina Chichikrones.
followed by Shimoyama, first base. As the 1-1 coming, off-speed pitch. And fishing is Nakagawa.
Nakagawa does a good job sitting on that and being patient and waiting. A little ahead of it. She's going to be looking for something fast here, but she wanted that pitch.
1 ball, 2 strikes. Lamb rocks and delivers. Foul back to the screen, and we will do it again. In the 5 spot for Japan is Hotaru Tsukimoto, followed by Yui Sakamoto, the designated player. Hitomi Kawabata is in the 7 spot. And Ayana Kuroji is in the 8 spot. Yumi Irishii, the catcher, is batting 9th. That pitch misses, evens the count at 2. Lamb pitching to Tiscaronis. Both natives of New South Wales. Tiscaronis from Sydney. Lamb born in Blacktown. Lives in Kurrajong, as that runs the count full, missing down and away.
And this is a typical leadoff batter for Japan, taking the count to 3-2, getting a lot of pitches here from Lamb, working her already. And that's going to be huge in the end of this game.
Payoff pitch from Lamb, and she'll have to do it again, as that one is fouled back to the screen. Nakagawa, .565 on base percentage in Pool C last year. 20 at-bats, 6 games, started all of them for Japan. Has some good speed as well, with a pair of triples in last year's contest. Lamb steps and delivers again. Swung on and miss. As coming back to get the strikeout is Lamb on the payoff pitch. Going away for out number 1 here in the first.
Lamb does a great job elevating that pitch a little bit, just enough for Nakagawa to get underneath it.
The shortstop, another left-handed hitter. Lamb's first pitch just misses low for a ball. Defensive alignment for Australia from left to right across the outfield. Michelle Cox in left, Jade Wall in center, and Shannon Keevers over in right. Give you the infield after the pitch here. As this is sent out towards left field. Under it is the aforementioned Michelle Cox. She makes the catch for out number 2.
Ishikawa is the second out of the inning.
As that's a 2-pitch at bat for Kendra Lamb. And as patient as leadoff hitter Nakagawa was, Lamb comes back and gets the quick out here for the second out of this first inning. That brings up Kana Kudo, again batting from the left side. Third base, wearing number 3. Takes a pitch that just misses inside. Ball 1. Infield for Australia. Captain for this Aussie Spirit side, Claire Warwick over at third base. Maddie Scott, the shortstop. Tamika Whitefield at second base. And Georgia Hood over at first. And as mentioned, Taylor Tiscaronis doing the catching for Kendra Lamb. Has a 1-1 count here with Kudo at the plate. Check swing. And did not go. Count now 2-1.
And that's a good take from Kudo. You can see she's got a early step trying to get her timing down. And so when those off-speed pitches come, she's able to time it up, but be ready for a fast pitch.
Lamb evens the count at 2. Going back to the fast pitch there. Checks for the sign. Drops the arm. And the 2-2. Called third strike, and that will retire the side as she goes to the outside corner. Second strikeout of the inning. Both teams down in order, and after one inning of play, no score here in Castellones de Estrada. You're watching the WBSC Women's Softball World Cup Finals. Top of the second inning, no score here. Castellones de Estrada at Campo Comunale de Softball. Chris Knobloch joined by Tokyo 2020 Olympian Amanda Fama. Here on the call. Have to say, probably one of the best jobs on earth today. We get to watch softball in some beautiful weather here in Italy. Elite softball it is, as Jenna Trim, the designated player, steps in. Made her debut this year for Australia from North Curl, New South Wales. As that pitch misses outside, evening the count at 1. Trim attends the University of New Mexico. This is chopped past the shortstop and into left field, and that will be the first hit of this contest and this tournament. And it belongs to Jenna Trim.
Team Australia with the runner at first base.
Lead off hitter aboard for Georgia Hood.
The first baseman, Georgia Hood.
Takes that inside pitch in the 5-6 hole. Does a great job as a leadoff batter of the inning getting on.
And particularly with Hood up, Hood power threat for this Australian team. And first pitch in there for a strike. Dual threat athlete. Also does some pitching for Australia. Go delivers. And misses off the plate. Evens the count at 1. Go to working a bit faster with runner aboard. Shimoyama in at first base. That pitch in there for a strike.
And you mentioned Goto speeding up a little bit with her in-between pitches, and that's another tactic that playing Japan, that's something that kind of throws you off as a hitter. Depending on the situation, how she's going to be pitching. Is she going to take a little longer? Sometimes she goes around and smiles and has a little bit of fun, but with the runner on, you can see she gets right back to the mound and gets ready.
2-2 pitch. This one down the third base line, but foul. And Hood returns to the batter's box. In that change in tactics, a lot of tactical thinking here, and with softball at this level, this is such an elite level, top 8 teams at the senior level in the world. You're going to see a lot of that tactical play as this pitch just misses inside to run the count full. On deck, Jade Wall, the center fielder. Payoff pitch coming. This one almost a half swing. Diving is Shimoyama. Can't make the play, and both runners will be safe. And almost an in-between play. The entire Japanese infield shifting around. And that ball just falling where a infielder couldn't get to it. Shimoyama gave everything she could to leap at it, but by the time that was in out of her glove, there was no play to make.
And that's a tough play, especially with Team Japan. They're so aggressive all the time. But to be able to see, is that better to let it go? Maybe the ball's going to spin out of bounds, but you're so aggressive. This is the first game of the tournament. You want to make those diving plays. And unfortunately, she still kept the ball in front of her, but ended up with now runners on first and second for Australia.
So back-to-back singles to start the second inning. Doesn't matter that that one didn't go quite that far. They still count as singles in the scorebook. Now 2 on, nobody out. 2 strikes quickly on Jade Wall.
And sometimes those small balls are going to be the deciding factor when you're playing a team like Japan. I mean, realistically, not going to get 8, 9, 10 at-bats and hits with them.
Wall strikes out on 3 pitches. And that'll be the first out of the inning. It's a big one. That will now set up the double play with Warwick coming up. Not really the at-bat you want to have there, especially with just 3 pitches. Goto delivers to Warwick. This one over towards first base. Nice diving play by Shimoyama. Her only play is to take it to first herself, so it will advance the runners. But that's now a quick out. As Warwick retired 3 unassisted. Runners now at second and third for Madison Scott, but with 2 down in the inning.
Madison Scott.
In a situation, Chris, we know with 1 out, runners on first and second, you have to put the ball in play. You're playing Japan. You have an opportunity here. They make great plays, but it's crucial to put the ball in play and try and get those runners to advance and eventually score.
First pitch nabs the outside corner for a strike. Madison Scott. Productive outs are very important, as you just said, Amanda. You can't waste any outs with Japan. They're not going to give you any outs back. Very, very good team fundamentally, and not afraid to let the ball go into play. Goto, yes, has the 2 strikeouts. More than happy to let her defense do the work behind her. 1-1 coming to Scott. This one chopped back towards us. And now Japan a strike away from getting out of the inning. As Goto, bit of a smile as she gets the ball back from Kiriishi.
And sometimes seeing that smile is more intimidating than the Wayno stare or something. And it's so intimidating, Chris.
Chop towards third base, foul. I know you've seen it on the field, and it's probably much more intimidating on the field, but here I am sitting in the comfort of our air-conditioned press box, and it's still slightly intimidating, and I'm at a safe distance behind glass. That's what you get at this elite level,
right.
Certainly.
Because, even though they're smiling, whether it's serious, happy, behind them, they're elite players. They're bringing it. They're coming out to win.
Bit of a painful one there as Scott fouls it off her own foot and then off her own body. She'll take a moment to collect herself. Now back in the left-hand batter's box. Scott lives in Adelaide, South Australia. Chops this towards second on a hop. Kawabata has it. Fires over to first base, and that will retire the side. So 2 hits, but nothing to show for it for Australia. They strand 2 runners aboard. After an inning and a half, no score. Australia and Japan here at the WBSC Women's Softball World Cup Final. Does average strikeouts pitched 11.
Something they're going to have to do very quick.
Jocelyn Allo have breakout. And a second out here in the second. Crossed up per catcher.
One more time.
Left side of third base. Caught a lot of chalk just on the wrong side of the bag. Count evens at 2. So rudely interrupted by that foul ball.
Well, no, and Titsakronis up to bat is a veteran player here for Australia. Went to the Olympic Games. And again, so as a coach, you can only do so much. You need the veteran players to help these younger athletes deal with the pressure of facing Japan, gold medalist Japan, but just repetition of playing these girls, dealing with that pressure.
2-2 pitch outside, throw down is in time. And that will end this third inning.
Outfielders caught stealing at second
Ciskaronis
base.
will get to lead things off next inning. Whitefield retired on the throw down. So Australia goes down in order in the third inning despite the base runner. And we head to the bottom half of the third. No score in this one.
Bottom of the third inning, Japan.
Bottom half of the third inning,
number
bottom of the
15,
order due up
the
for
center
Japan,
fielder, Ayana
Kuroji, Kiraishi, and then the top of the order, Nakagawa, due up for this Japanese side against Kendra Lamb. Lamb just allowing the one base runner, single by Sakamoto with 2 outs in the second. She checks her armband for the sign and kicks things off here in the third with the pitch outside. No score in this one. Rematch of the opening game of the Tokyo 2020 games, taking place in 2021 thanks to COVID. Games that you participated in, Amanda. That was a bunt missed. 1-1 the count. And for those of us who are watching, it was certainly one experience. Had plenty of time to watch. I live in Great Britain and certainly had nothing else to do at that moment while I was in lockdown. But talk a little bit about that experience, particularly as Italy, one of the countries that was most affected by the pandemic, but also Japan. And then, of course, in the middle of all that, they're hosting the Olympic Games.
Yeah, Chris, the experience, I still don't really have words for it.
Swung on and missed there. 4th strikeout for Lamb.
I don't know how to describe the experience. I was actually in California when COVID hit, going back and forth from Italy. We unfortunately had the passing of our head coach during COVID, and that really tore our team apart. But then, you know, knowing girls on other teams, all of us chatting pretty much, USA, Australia, just finding out if the games were going to happen. That was the biggest thing. And then once they secured, yes, hey, we're doing it 2021, it was like, is it really going to go through? Because Japan was hit so hard. And it was just, it was a different experience, I think, than what we all wanted. But I think huge for world sports, and especially softball, with how softball's kind of in and out of it. But to be able to participate, to kind of show younger athletes, no matter what's going on, we can all kind of come together as softball players. So that was incredible. And I'm so excited that it's back in the 2028 games. So these girls, these athletes can have a real true experience at the Olympics.
Hard shot foul down the third base line, ricocheting into left field, but still foul. And yeah, and a great point about it, the announcement coming last October, November at the Olympic Games in Los Angeles in 2028. They'll have softball and baseball back in the games. Baseball, the male format of the sport, as it were, in IOC rules. Announcement coming under the current plans. The former USA Softball Hall of Fame Stadium, now Devon Park in Oklahoma City, hosting softball in 2028. Had the pleasure of going out there with the Great Britain national team a couple weeks ago, play the U.S. elite team, along with the professional Oklahoma City Sparks. And a lot of those familiar names here with the U.S. national team. It's 2-2 pitch, skied out towards left field. Over is Cox to make the catch for the second out of the inning.
Out of the inning.
But I think to the wider point, to have softball in the Olympic Games, and don't get me wrong, the World Cup of Softball is a huge event. To have this event in the 2-year format and to have it both at the World Games in 2022 and then the previous edition in 2028 is a great and aspirational moment for young athletes. But to have it as part of the Olympic Games and to be as part of the pinnacle of sport, I think, is so important when you look at the overall growth of the game. And we were chatting before this game started about just the developments of this stadium that you played in when you were over playing professionally here in Italy. It's all connected, whether it's to the Olympics, to the grassroots. It's all part of this ecosystem.
It is, and that's what a lot of us don't understand. And I'm so, like I said, so excited to come back and see this field in all the stands they brought in, all the banners, the field, what is able to improve because of everything going on, I guess you're saying. And so being in the Olympics is expanding the sport worldwide, and that's what I'd say my generation and even the generation before myself playing is that's all we want. We want to grow this sport. And so being in, being out, being in of the Olympics, it's like, when are we just gonna be in? When do we deserve to be in? And so being here, when I walked up on the field, it was goosebumps because this is it. This is softball growing, and it's really, really amazing to see. So 2028, I can't wait to see how much it's grown in those couple of years from now.
And you look at the recovery from the pandemic, and we'll talk a little bit about why the pandemic keeps coming up during this broadcast, but it has to do with the WBSC Konami World Rankings. But just a couple years on from this big worldwide event, you have places like Ireland hosting their first ever World Cup stage. You have a 3-stage World Cup this year, but the men's World Cup, we just had one of the stages wrap up in the first half of their World Cup. The under-18s have their 3-stage World Cup coming up. And you look at all of the different places that are hosting softball, it's just fantastic to see the expansion. Lamb with another strikeout. She now has 5 through the first 3 innings. And another 1-2-3 inning here in the third. We're through 3 here. No score between Australia and Japan here at the WBSC Women's Softball World Cup Finals. About 83 as this is lined back up the middle, a base hit. That is a leadoff single there for Taylor Tisconaronis, who was at the plate when Whitefield was caught stealing. That pays dividends. Leadoff single. Second inning, Australia's had the leadoff single. Previously happening in the second is now Jenna Trim. Takes ball outside. Again, sorry.
No,
please.
I was saying Tisconaronis does a great job not over swinging on that pitch, just getting a base out of it, getting herself on first. Again, leading off that last inning when they had runners on first and second. They get that leadoff runner on, and you have to be aggressive against Japan. You can't miss those opportunities, as we were talking about, Chris. And so it's great to see Australia being aggressive and see what they can do here with a runner on.
Absolutely. As this pitch in for a strike, 2-1 the count. And talking about those missed opportunities, the way that Tisconaronis reacted, getting to first base, it's very clear the intent was to get up there, get one base, get on base, and play station to station. Count now 2-2. We're seeing a lot of the off-speed pitches away from the right-handed hitting Trim. Excuse me, 3 balls and 1 strike the count. 3-1. Now the count runs full. That nabs the outside corner.
We talk about that mind game. We see Kurishi behind the plate here. Sometimes she'll hop from inside to outside as she just did there.
Check swing. Goto will field her position. Fires over to first to get the out. Trim retired. Up to second base. Tiscanaronis. Now runner in scoring position with less than 2 outs for Australia. They have Georgia Hood coming up. Hood 1 for 1 on the day with the single. Step in from the right side. These teams, 2 of the teams that have had to travel the furthest to get here to Italy. That pitch misses inside. Obviously not everybody traveling from the same place, but it is 16,000 miles, 16,165 miles. Castellons de Strada to Canberra in Australia. Japan no slouch either, 9,487 kilometers away. Those more American inclined. That's 10,045 miles for Canberra, 5,895 miles for Tokyo.
And that travel plays a part in their performance too. We were just talking about traveling preparation. And so I know a lot of the teams were here a few weeks ahead of time to get acclimated to the weather, get acclimated to the time, and make sure that's not a factor, because I'm struggling with some jet lag myself. But being able to perform at your best, your body not being tired, is very difficult. And so those kilometers, those miles you're talking about do play such a huge part if you don't have the proper rest.
Japan, coming from Japan, just playing the U.S. last week, is Hood will strike out here on inside pitch. Goto comes back to get the strikeout. Now 2 down with a runner at second for Jade Wall.
Number 1, the center fielder.
Also, one of the challenges, let's say, of European softball are the regional airports. Not that it's a challenge to necessarily get places within Europe, but you end up in these beautiful locations, lovely little ballparks that happen to be equidistant between 2 airports, all needing a connecting flight or only on a specific Ryanair flight, as we do have a pinch runner, Stacey McManus, pinch running at second base. I believe that is. First pitch misses off the plate to Jade Wall, ball 1. This chopped foul. Goto now taking a little bit of time. The sunglasses on here, and that's not a surprise. Just about noon local time, and the sun directly overhead. This is grounded back up the middle. Over is the second baseman Kawabata. Throw to first is in time. Wall is retired, and that will retire the side. So Wall retired on a great play by Kawabata. Australia can't convert the runner once again. 1 runner left on base after 3.5 innings of play. No score. Japan, Australia here at the WBSC Women's Softball World Cup. Kendra Lamb back in the circle. She'll face Ishikawa, Kudo, and Shimoyama for the Japanese side here. As the left-handed hitting Ishikawa steps in, first pitch to her shows bunt, spins there. It will be a fair ball, and the throw gets away from first base. Up to second is Ishikawa. We talk about this being a game of millimeters, and that could be one of those plays, as a hit that goes all of 2.5 meters ends up with a runner on second base to lead off the bottom of the 4th.
And with a runner at second and
And that was a
nobody out,
great
now hitting
bunt.
for
And then we had a
Japan,
great
number 3,
vantage point
the
of that.
third
She had
baseman,
backspin on the
Kakudo.
ball just enough so it's not going to roll foul. Titsakronis coming out fast. That ball just tailing off to the right, unfortunately, getting past. Now Ishikawa's on second.
Kudo with the bunt back to Lamb. Sacrifice attempt is good. Kudo is retired. Sacrifice goes 1-3. Up to third base goes Ishikawa. Now with one down. Japan with a runner over at third base.
And the runner at third
And
base now batting
Shimoyama
number
coming to
13,
the
the
plate.
first baseman,
Shimoyama
Eddie
immediately
Shimoyama.
looks down to the third base coach. Get an updated set of signs.
And it's no surprise, Chris, that we see Japan starting to bunt. They struggled their first time through the lineup. Lamb striking out several Japan hitters, and so now they're trying a different tactic. They're not going to go very long like we were talking about. So we see 2 bunts in a row. Now Ishikawa on third in scoring position.
And we thought Claire Warwick was playing in earlier. She's playing a full third of the way in from third base now. Georgia Hood doing the same over at first. They're even basically with the circle. Kendra Lamb. And now we will get a time call as Australia will have their pitching coach Andrew Kirkpatrick come on out and address the infield. Talking about the aggression that we're seeing from this Japanese team. It's an interesting set of circumstances. When there are runners on base, this Japanese team speeds everything up. You've seen that from Goto, both innings that Australia has had the runners on base. You see here, anytime they have the advantage, they look to press that advantage, and speed is one of the ways that they do so. The other thing is timing. You see with the base runner over at third in Ishikawa, that's now the infield all the way in, all the way around, as that pitch misses. 1-1 the count. And by in, there is a line of infielders completely even with the pitching rubber.
Well, we have Warwick back in line with third base.
Oh, there's, yeah, so Warwick's now back, and as is the second baseman, Tamika Whitefield. This is fouled back to the screen. 1 ball, 2 strikes the count.
And so it's interesting to see, talking about scouting, talking about seeing these hitters over and over.
The familiarity, absolutely.
Well, a lot of the few Australia pitchers play over in Japan in the Pro League, so they know these hitters. Now the defense has shifted again. Warwick's up a little bit. First is back. The middles have kind of given a little bit of room with a 1-2 count, so they're definitely playing their kind of psychological game as well, trying to get the momentum on their side. I'd say we were talking about Japan speeding things up. They want momentum on their side. Now, this is really great to see Australia scouting enough where they can be confident in their positioning on the field.
Pitch just misses off the plate, and the count runs full. On deck, Taru Tsukamoto struck out looking in her first at-bat. That'll be after the payoff pitch. And it takes us, there's a level of familiarity to get your scouting right, but the level of familiarity it takes to have these defensive alignments is something special. It speaks to the elite level of softball. This is lined out towards left field. It is over the head of Cox, and that will get down for a base hit. Run is in to score as Ishikawa jogs home on the RBI double for Shimoyama, and it is 1-0 Japan.
It's a double for
Shimoyama
and Japan
doubles home the
scores
first run of this
fourth inning.
tournament. And that could be a huge run here. So we'll have another visit out to the circle.
I know we couldn't really see it that well, but from our point, we were able to go to the press conference the other day and listen to the captain, Claire Warwick, talk about kind of what's going on with Team Australia, and she talked about the veterans meshing with the newer girls, trying to kind of have old school softball mixed with this new softball, and they want to try new things. And so playing them for the last 6-7 years, I've never seen something like that from Team Australia. So to see that, for them to try new things and again be confident in it, you see Australia taking steps.
Absolutely, and I'll go one step further. I was in Ireland last year as part of Pool A. We weren't even seeing stuff like that from Australia last year, so this is certainly something interesting to see. We'll have a pitching change here and step away for the moment. When we return, 1-0, Japan leads Australia here in the bottom half of the fourth inning from Castellones de Estrada.
Pitching change for Team Australia. Replacing number 53, Kendra Lamb, is now number 32, Kaya Barnaby.
Pitching change here in Castellones de Estrada as Kendra Lamb's morning. Actually, depending where you are, could be morning, afternoon, evening, or midnight. But her day is done here. 3 1/3 innings. We'll get that final line for you in a moment. And taking over for her in the circle is Kaya Barnaby, longtime veteran of this Australia team. Made her debut back in 2009. She will also face a pinch hitter, as it is Shiho Suto in Tsukamoto's spot. Two and nothing the count, as Barnaby's first 2 pitches missed. Barnaby, an integral part of Australia's qualifying team for this finals tournament, playing in 5 games, 3 starts last year. Shuto swings and misses. 2 wins and a save for Australia. 20 innings pitched, 14 hits, just 5 walks, 25 strikeouts, and an ERA of 1.4. Certainly the workhorse of this Australian team. So that's foul back to the screen to even the count at 2. Left-hander from Mona Vale, New South Wales. Went to the University of Hawaii at Manoa. Representation from 2 of the University of Hawaii's campuses within this WBSC Women's Softball World Cup Final. But more on that later. You'll have to tune into all the games.
Suto is the second out of
Suto
the inning.
Strikes out.
Runner at second and 2 outs for
Now 2 down in the inning.
Now batting
So
number 7, the designated
Suto retired.
player,
First strikeout for Barnaby. That brings up Ui Sakamoto. 1 for 1 with a single. Japan 3 hits in this one. Australia 4 hits, and the error. That error proving instrumental so far, as this pitch is in there for a strike.
Yeah, Kaya's working the outside corner here with a runner on second, but she's definitely a leader on this team for Team Australia. She composes herself so well in the circle. Played against her several times. Actually got to play a fun little Summer Slam tournament down in Australia with her, and She is exactly that, a leader by just how she's playing and her demeanor, and she knows the Japanese lineup very well, being one of those athletes that plays over in the Japan Pro League. And so she's going to...
This is a fair ball down the left field line. Into score from second base is Shimoyama.
It's an RBI triple for you.
That is an RBI triple for Sakamoto. She was hustling all the way out of the batter's box. Had triple in mind, second run, and that could be crucial for Japan. They take the 2-0 lead. That run charged to Lamb. That one will end her line as well. 3 1/3 innings pitched for Kendra Lamb.
Well, I think what's key here, too, is keeping Japan at 2 runs, because you still have the rest of the tournament. You don't want it to be one of those 8-1 games, 13 runs sometimes when you play Japan, because this is your opening game. You have to be honest. This is Japan. So keeping them at 2 can still give you confidence to play the rest of your tournament. And so you have to be honest with yourself, keep them at bay, but still push hard.
Absolutely. 1-1 the count now. Kawabata. Tomi 0 for 1 in this one. Flew out to center to end the second inning. Lefty-lefty matchup. Parnaby delivers, and this is off the plate. 2-1. Chatting before the game, Australia with 4 pitchers. Pretty standard for a tournament this size. It is a 5-day tournament. Can't use all of your pitching all at once. It's a grounder over towards first. Hood will take it herself, and that will retire the side. But Japan breaks through. They get a pair of runs and leave a runner at third base. And after 4 full innings of play, 2-0 Japan leads Australia here at the WBSC Women's Softball World Cup Final. Come on. First game of this opening round of the WBSC Women's Softball World Cup Finals. Hearing a lot of Amanda on these opening round broadcasts indeed. She'll be joining my colleague Tim Collins as well. Tim will have the next 2 games of today's action. And we will have the opening ceremony tonight for the nightcap. Italy versus China.
Ayane Nakagawa moved from right field to left field.
For that,
Top of the 5th inning
have
for Team
some
Australia. Now batting number 2, the third baseman, Claire Wood.
more good lineups. There are some defensive changes. We'll grab them all in a moment. For Japan, first pitch to Warwick, misses ball 1. Tim will have the next game at 4 o'clock local time. Puerto Rico versus the Netherlands. Then a North American rivalry at 4:30 local time as Canada takes on the United States. That'll be a great matchup. As the 1-1 skied out towards right field, hooking foul. It's the opening day of the tournament. Opening round will continue for the next couple of days on Tuesday and Wednesday. And we'll have the super round on Thursday and Friday. Championship and bronze medal game set for Saturday. Should there be some weather, knock wood there won't be. Certainly on the long range forecast. I haven't seen any. And of course there will be updates. Updates from the field here. We've spotted the first cloud all day, somewhere beyond center field. So that should tell you exactly what we think the weather's going to do.
It rolls in fast, though. It's
That
you're
is
right
true.
You're right by the mountains. You're on the coast. Italy's unpredictable at times.
And for those who've not had the pleasure of coming out here, and it is a lovely area of the world, Well, there are quite a few many things named after the Dolomites, as this is skied out towards shallow center field. Kuroji calls everyone off, makes the catch. That is out number one. In order to fly here from Frankfurt, flew on Air Dolomiti. That was served a water bottle. That was Dolomiti water.
Now batting for Team Australia.
Dolomites are in the
18,
background.
Madison Scott.
I think you get the point.
Well, then you have Cortina up in the mountains, which is the 2026, I believe, Winter Olympic Games.
Yes. Is that a grounder back towards the
Scott
pitcher?
with the second out.
And Scott retired on the first pitch she
Now for
sees.
Team Australia. Now batting number
Two
11,
quick
the
outs
right fielder,
here.
Shannon Keevers.
It is Fujimoto who has taken over in right field for Shuto. Yuara Fujimoto made her Japan debut back in 2022. That pitch misses low to Keevers. 1-1 the count. Shimoyama over at first base, playing about halfway to home plate. Left-handed Keevers due up, or up, I should say, not due up.
And Keevers is one of those athletes, we saw her try to slap the pitch before, takes a big swing, chokes up a little bit on the bat, so she's got a shorter bat than normal just because she chokes up. But can also lay down a bun. She's got 1-2 count here, so probably won't see that. But again, keeping the Japan defense guessing here with a slap or a swing keeps Japan a little bit closer than they normally would.
2-2 swung on and missed. And Keevers is retired. 1-2-3 inning there for Goto. So after Japan takes the lead, Goto comes back to the circle and shuts down Australia. To the bottom of the fifth, we go 2-0. Japan leads Australia here on Game Time TV. You are watching the WBSC Women's Softball World Cup Final. Of the fifth inning, it'll be Kuroji, Kiriishi, and Nakagawa due up for Japan, defending a 2-0 lead, but looking for more here in the opening game of this tournament. Thank you for joining us here on Game Time. First pitch in there for a strike to start off the bottom of the fifth. Parnaby delivers. Now a bunt back to Parnaby. She fields her position well. The throw over to first. Covering first was Whitefield, and the throw bounced off her glove. That will be an error. And reaching is Kuroji. The throw from Parnaby was a good one. Have to think that that was that's a close play over at first. I'd say that Whitefield could have had that one with a little bit more of a stretch. Oh no, Amanda, as an infielder, I think you may have a different perspective on this one.
Yeah, that's tough. This is tough being friends with both of those girls. I think the throw was a little off. Whiteman coming from second base position. Kaya's got to make a more chest throw, a ball right to the chest, because Whiteman's moving. So I think tipping off her glove, tipping off her glove. Yeah, pitcher's got to do a better job. But she's that lefty, so she's got that spin, but that's just got to be a better throw.
Shows you what I know. This is why my job is to see what I say, or say what I see. It is an error on Parnaby. She comes back and gets a couple quick strikes, 1-2 the count, with the runner over at first for Kiriishi. So that pitch just misses low, evens the count at 2. Parnaby using the same tactic as Japan, speeding things up with a runner on base. A little bit longer in between pitches, but that's because Australia are using call signs. This one chopped towards short. Scott has it, will take it to second herself, fires over to first, and that is a crucial double play for Australia. So after the throwing error by Parnaby, her defense bails her out on the 6-3 double play started by Maddie Scott.
Yeah, and as a shortstop, this is one of those candy hops, candy plays. She's able to wait on it a little bit so she can get closer to second, kind of tap it with her toe, and then throw the ball to first, getting a double play. Crucial, like you said, in this inning.
That brings up Nakagawa, batting in Kudo's spot. Batting from the left side. Parnaby delivers, popped up, foul, back behind us, out of play. Into this complex that's really been magicked out of nowhere by the Italian Baseball and Softball Federation. They've done a fantastic job. I know, man, before we came on air, we were talking about the improvements to the stadium, not just for this tournament, but in general, with them hosting half of the Italian leg of Pool C last year for the opening round of the World Cup.
Yeah, they've done an incredible job. Like I said, the dirt, making it playable for the elite level. They did the group staging here.
This is grounded back up the middle and through, a base hit.
Base hit for Nakagawa.
So Nakagawa, her first at bat of the day.
Runner at first base
Reach.
for Team Japan and 2 outs.
2-out single, not first at bat, excuse me, now 1 for 3. First time on base. Brings up Ishikawa. Scored the first run of this game, single to lead off last inning. Throw down to second, not in time. And that will be the first stolen base of the day, as Nakagawa now in scoring position with 2 outs. Kawa has a chance to drive in a run after scoring the first run. She'll slash this one foul. It's now behind the count, 0-2. The opening ceremony here tonight, 7:30 local time. Also got all the decorations out, all the flags in center field. I have to say, that's very, very cool, the way that they've displayed the flags. Both these teams in pool, or excuse me, these teams in different pools, if I remember correctly. Flags divided up there. As Parnaby gets the strikeout. That's the second strikeout for Parnaby. And that will retire the side as Ishikawa goes down. Runner stranded on, but another hit for Japan. And we head to the bottom of the 5th inning, or excuse me, the top of the 6th. I'm getting myself all mixed up. The 6th inning, the score 2-0 Australia. As we will have a pinch hitter for Australia. Lead things off here. Shell Cox's afternoon is done. Leading off the 6th. And it is Shaylin Watman making her first appearance of this World Cup. Takes ball 1. Now ball 2 as that pitch misses inside. The Australian debut for Watman in a official tournament. Grounds it to second. Firing to first, Kawabata, and that will be out number 1.
Ground out to the
So
second
Watton
baseman.
makes her
Walker is
Australia
the first
debut
out
in
of the
tournament
inning.
and is retired 4-3.
Now batting for Team Australia, number 21, second base.
That brings up
Tamika
Tamika Whitefield, 1 for 2, singled in her last at bat, and was caught stealing. That was in the 3rd inning. Japan playing in at first base is Shimoyama. First pitch from Goto goes to the off-speed pitch. Gets the strikes. That dropped beautifully over the outside corner. 0-1 the count.
And that's Gatto playing all the cards that she had. Off speed, that changeup, catching Whitefield.
This one is lined back up the middle. 1 out base hit for Whitefield. Her second base knock of the day.
Base hit for Whitefield.
And with 1 down, that'll bring the tying run to the plate.
Runner at first base for
And I would hazard that we're not going to see Whitefield go anywhere this time.
Taylor Tiscironis.
As Tiscaronis, 1 for 2 on the day, does have home run power.
And you see Gatto going first pitch. She does have that home run power, so catching her with her weight forward on that off-speed pitch, she would love to hit a home run right now and even the score. But in a situation like this, Tiscironis has to kind of shorten things up, we say, put the ball in contact, find a hole, and just keep this little rally going.
Whitefield staying close to the first base bag, but being held on by Shimoyama regardless. Tiscaronis down 0-2 in the count. Waiting on deck is Jenna Trim, designated player for Australia, 1 for 2 as well. Just fouled away. Trim, closest Australian to scoring today. Made it to 3rd in the 2nd inning. That was Australia's best shot at scoring so far. They had 2 on with nobody out, unable to score. Not the difference in this one, 2 runs. And getting that in the bottom of the 4th. As waving at it, Tiscaronis, she will strike out. And that is a huge strikeout for out number 2.
Tiscironis is the second out of the inning.
Gatto throwing this pitch
Number 79,
a foot
designated
or more
player,
outside,
Jenna
catching
Trim.
Tiscaronis, chasing. Sometimes a ball is even effective, and that's what a lot of people struggle with, is it doesn't have to necessarily be a strike to get the batter out, but just enough for her to chase, and that's what happens.
So 2 down in the inning. Jenna Trim now stepping in from the right side. Goto delivers. 6 strikeouts so far for Goto. 5 2/3 innings pitched. Next game up, Puerto Rico versus the Netherlands. Set for 1 o'clock local time, depending on when this one wraps up. That pitch misses just off the plate.
Seeing Gatto go to that changeup more often here later in the game, trying to catch Team Australia off balance, kind of rolling over, playing it more safe, get a ball in the infield instead of something deep in a hole that Whitefield could potentially score on.
Waving at that one and missing is Trim. Count even at 2-2. Whitefield still over at first. Gatto delivers, misses off the plate, runs the count full. Georgia Hood waits on deck. As Australia, full count, 2 outs, tying run at the plate. Top half of the 6th inning. Gatto delivers, waved at and missed by Trim. 7th strikeout for Gatto, and that will retire the side. 4th runner stranded on base for Australia. They can't score, and after 5.5 innings played, Japan 2, Australia 0. Here at the WBSC Women's, going to be an inning in 2/3, 2 hits and 2 strikeouts, no runs, no walks. Australia no walks through the first 5 frames, as Ellen Roberts will take over in the circle. Here in 4 games in Pool A in Balbriggan last year. 2 of those starts, 1-1 record and a save, 14 1/3 innings pitched. Struck out 13, 0.98 ERA, 1 earned run through all that work.
And I think this is a good move from the Australia coaching staff, going from Kaya Parnaby, who's more of a spinny pitcher. Ball moves a lot. Ellen Roberts has all of her pitches, but more speed. So Japan getting a different look, seeing a different type of pitching here in the bottom or in the last inning of the game. I think a good coaching call here.
And we talked a little bit earlier in this game about the nerves and how little time you have to get over them. Well, one way to get over that is to run through your entire pitching staff in that first game. Get them all a little bit of work, as this is skied out towards short. Shortstop called off by the second baseman, and Whitefield will haul it in for out number 1. Don't often see that order of events. Nevertheless, that's what happens, and that's out number 1, as Roberts gets the first batter she faces. With Shimoyama now coming up, the RBI double, score the first run of the game. That coming in the 4th inning. We talked about the format of this tournament. We have the opening rounds, which will be the first 3 days. Top 2 teams from each of the 2 groups will advance to the super round. That will be day 4 and 5. And the top 2 teams from that play will play in the championship. 3 and 4 will play in the bronze medal game. And Amanda, you've played in an intense, let's say, environment in Tokyo for one of these tournaments that's very, very short, but has a lot at stake. What type of mindset do you have to have, especially, this is game 1, but by tomorrow we'll be on game 5, game 6. It moves very, very quickly.
It does move quickly, and that's where you have to be in the mindset of leave it all on the field. You can't let off at any moment, because that can be the deciding factor. You don't want to go back, watch film, and regret anything, because like you just said, tomorrow we're going to be on game 5, 6, 7. And so
this is lined out to left field. That'll get down for a base hit. Second hit of the day for Shimoyama. 2 for 3 on the morning and afternoon here in Italy. And a 1-out base runner for Japan.
Number 23, the right fielder, Urara Fujimoto.
As Fujimoto will bat now. Fujimoto in from the left side. First pitch puts down a bunt. Back to Roberts, fields her position. Fires to first. That sacrifice is good. 1-3 goes the out, and up to second base goes Shimoyama. And again, Japan playing small ball. Happy to play station to station, with now 2 down and a runner in scoring position. And again, that speaks to the very limited margin for error.
Right, going back, any type of error can be that error that puts you in the championship, loses you the championship. At this level, you can't have any errors.
Pitch misses inside. Oh no, gets the inside corner for strike 1 to Sakamoto. Things move quickly here as we're in the bottom half of the 6th inning. Already got the lineups for the next game, Puerto Rico and the Netherlands. That pitch just misses. Even the count. In the top of the 7th will be Hood, Wall, and Warwick. 5, 6, and 7 due up for Australia. Roberts delivers. This is fisted out towards right field. That will get down for a base hit. Coming around to score is Shimoyama. And that's a big insurance run for Japan. RBI single for Sakamoto, as it was just in on the hands, driven out to right field. A good piece of situational hitting. A second run scored for Shimoyama on the day. Again, it's a big one. Both of them have been crucial insurance runs. That brings Hitomi Kawabata to the plate over in this one. But first, we're going to have a full-on Dust Devil over at short. I guess you can say that would be an Australian home field advantage.
Well, we had the heat break earlier, and that's something that the Australians are really
all too familiar with, let's say.
We played down there, I think 2019, 18 or 19, and that was new to us. You have to be able to keep your rhythm going, but it's so hot out there, and the weather's pretty similar, I'd say, in a sense.
Kawabata shows bunt. Pitch is low. Speaking of the heat break, we'll have another one after the 6th inning, so after this half inning. Yeah, I guess you can say the U.S. happens to have an advantage, but it's not by anything of their doing. By being based in Oklahoma City, you're not going to find too many places on Earth hotter than that. A couple weeks ago, I was there with the Great Britain team. They took a thermometer, stuck it in the dirt at game time. It's 4 p.m. on an afternoon in Oklahoma City. The dirt was 129 degrees. That'd be Fahrenheit. That's about 2 centigrade, and that is too hot. Skied out towards left field. Hawks waves everybody off, will make the catch, and that will retire the side. But a crucial insurance run for Japan. They now lead 3-0. We head to the 7th and final frame. It is 3-0 Japan over Australia here at the WBSC Women's Softball World Cup Finals.
Heat rules. There will be a 3 minutes event of the team. And then we will move on with number 91, Sasha
Williams pinch hits here for Georgia Hood. Hood 1 for 2 on the day. New pitcher for Japan is Sakura Miwa, acting in the closer's role here. It'll be Williams, Wall, and Warwick. Due up for Australia. Miwa's first 2 pitches miss. Start off the 7th inning. Miwa delivers. In there for a strike. Chris Knobloch joined by Amanda Fama. 3-0. Japan has the lead for Australia in this opening contest. Up next, Puerto Rico and the Netherlands. Followed by Canada and the U.S. And then the nightcap, which will be China versus hosts Italy. This grounded back to Miwa. We'll fire it to first base. That will be out number 1 here in the top of the 7th.
Now batting for Team Australia, number 1, the center fielder, Jade Wall.
Amanda, your overall thoughts on both sides as we kind of get towards the later part of this game. Obviously, Australia certainly capable of a comeback here, but kind of have a good idea of what both teams are bringing to the table here through the first 6 innings of this tournament.
Yeah, I'm very impressed with Australia, to be honest. Again, in the press conference, talking about their pitching, some people were a little hesitant on how their pitching would do. Keeping Japan at a 3-0 lead is great. Great for a first game. Japan, I'm confused a little bit. Japan comes out, usually dominates, and they have several strikeouts with Lamb early in the game, and to me that's surprising. I think we're not going to see that too much throughout the tournament. I think they're going to come back. But a good outing for both these teams. I think Australia is going to have a great amount of momentum coming forward. A little work on those errors, minimizing those errors. Those can be the deciding factors. But they're going to have a lot of momentum moving into the rest of the tournament, Chris.
Skied out towards shallow right center. He will make the catch. That's out number 2. Yeah, I think you nailed it with the errors. I think Australia is going to look at two things. They're going to look at the leadoff runners that they had on and were unable to capitalize, particularly in that second inning. They're going to look at that 3 errors, and that's basically the difference in this game, because otherwise it's a one-run contest. But as we've been talking about, alluding to, and you're going to hear all broadcast, you're going to hear on all of the broadcasts, that's what it is. It's a game of centimeters, game of inches, game of whichever system you like to measure by. But it's going to be these small little moments that make all the difference with the teams that are this elite and athletes that are at the height of their performance.
Well, and going with, we talked about how softball's progressing. USA, Japan usually dominating, but now other countries are starting to rise up.
Check swing there. Warwick able to hold up. 2-1 the count. Miwa ready to deliver. Steps and fires. That is in there for a strike. Australia down to that final strike. Count now 2-2. 2 balls, 2 strikes, 2 out. Japan with the 3-0 lead here. As Warwick will send this down the left field line. It will hook foul. Make the seats out of play. Miwa gets the sign. Gives a nod to her catcher. Kiri Ishii ready for the pitch. This one again chopped to the left side. Stays foul. And we'll do the 2-2 again. Warwick with that veteran experience for Australia. One of the oldest members of this team at the age of 37. Seen a few competitions. 2-2. Again, skied down the left field line into the stands, out of play. At the very least, she's going to make Miwa work for it. Warwick, incidentally, the only player on this Australian team from Canberra, 10,045 miles away. This is chopped towards third. Up with it is Kudo. She fires across the diamond, and that will retire the side and end the game. Japan will take the opening contest of the Women's Softball World Cup Finals Tournament with a 3-0 win over Australia. Miyu Goto with 6 solid innings for the victory. 7 strikeouts over those 6 innings. And Japan, 7 hits, helped by 3 Australian errors. The big hit, a double by Shimoyama, drove in Ishikawa in the 4th inning with an error that led to another base. So good first outing for both these teams, Amanda. As the traditional handshake line you'll see after every game in the sport of softball. But as you were saying, good feeling out process, first couple of innings for these two teams. We definitely got a taste of what these two teams are capable of. It'll be interesting to see how they both progress, come back in tomorrow's contests.
Yeah, a little more aggressiveness from Japan. Australia keep up the aggression, minimize those errors, and I think these two are going to have a great tournament.
Absolutely. That will do it for us here at Castellones de Strada, a game that took 1 hour and 57 minutes. For my broadcast partner, Amanda Fama, my name is Chris Knobloch. You've been watching the WBSC Women's Softball World Cup Finals here on Game Time. The final score for the final time, Japan 3, Australia nothing. Thank you for watching and thank you for listening. Make sure to tune into the next game, Puerto Rico versus the Netherlands, which will get going in just about 1 hour's time right here on Game Time. Purchase the whole pack and watch the whole Women's College World Series. 3-0, Japan takes the win.